Berklee College of Music, Boston, November 14th, 1999, 2:47 p.m. Dr. Jonathan Pierce stood at the front of Advanced Funk and R&B Arrangement, holding a printed analysis of Prince's Kiss like it was evidence in a trial. 20 students sat in a semicircle, notebooks open, instruments at their sides, ready to absorb wisdom from one of Berklee's most credentialed instructors. PhD in music theory from Yale. Published author. 20 years teaching the science of arrangement. He knew the rules. All of them. This track, Dr. Pierce said, tapping the paper, is the perfect case study in natural talent compensating for theoretical deficiency. 3 instruments total, 1 synth line, 1 guitar lick, 1 drum machine pattern. From a Berklee arrangement perspective, this is skeletal, harmonically limited, sparse to the point of being incomplete. He played the track through the classroom speakers. The familiar minimalist funk filled the room. Students nodded, some tapping along unconsciously. In the back row, a man in a black baseball cap and purple t-shirt smiled quietly, arms crossed. Dr. Pierce stopped the music. Now, I'm not saying it's not effective. Obviously, it was a massive hit, but effectiveness doesn't equal sophistication. This arrangement works because Prince has exceptional natural ability. He's compensating for lack of formal training with raw talent in repetition. But imagine if he'd studied here at Berklee. Imagine if he understood advanced harmonic theory, proper orchestration principles, sophisticated voicing techniques. This track could have been so much more complex, so much richer, so much more musically substantial. A student raised her hand. Young woman, bass guitar across her lap. But isn't the simplicity the point? Isn't funk supposed to breathe, leave space for the groove? Dr. Pierce smiled patiently. That's a common misconception. Funk can have complexity and groove simultaneously. The idea that simplicity equals authenticity is romantic but pedagogically incorrect. Proper arrangement theory teaches us to maximize harmonic and melodic content while maintaining rhythmic integrity. Prince's approach is intuitive, not educated. It works for him because he's gifted. But for students learning composition, relying on intuition without theoretical foundation is inefficient and limits artistic growth. The man in the back row shifted in his seat. His expression hadn't changed, but his eyes had narrowed slightly. Dr. Pierce continued, warming to his lecture. Self-taught musicians often develop these idiosyncratic approaches that feel natural but lack theoretical justification. They're working from instinct, not understanding. That's why formal education is so valuable. It gives you the framework to make sophisticated artistic choices instead of just guessing and hoping it sounds good. Another student spoke up. A young man with a Purple Rain poster visible on his folder. But Professor Pierce, Prince plays like 27 instruments. He arranged entire albums by himself. That has to require some theoretical knowledge, right? Dr. Pierce nodded. Absolutely. I'm not suggesting he's musically ignorant. He clearly understands his instruments through repetition and practice. But there's a difference between practical knowledge and theoretical understanding. He knows what works for him through trial and error. A Berklee education would teach him why it works through harmonic analysis, voice-leading principles, and compositional theory. He could apply those concepts universally instead of just repeating patterns he's discovered accidentally. From the back row, a voice. Quiet, controlled. Actually, the sparseness in Kiss isn't accidental, it's intentional. Funk is about negative space, not filling every frequency. The entire class turned. Dr. Pierce stopped mid-gesture, looking toward the back with visible irritation. I'm sorry, do you have something to add? The man in the baseball cap looked up. Just an observation. You called it theoretically deficient. I'm saying it's theoretically precise, just different theory than Berklee teaches. Dr. Pierce set down his analysis paper. Are you a music theory instructor? No. Do you have formal composition credentials? No, just experience. Dr. Pierce's expression shifted to something between amusement and condescension. Well, experience without theoretical foundation is just trial and error. That's exactly what we're discussing. The difference between educated composition and intuitive guesswork. He gestured toward the front of the room. But since you seem confident in your alternative theoretical framework, why don't you come up here and demonstrate your perspective? Show the class how intuition supposedly equals education. The challenge was clear, dismissive. Dr. Pierce expected to embarrass a student who'd spoken out of turn, reassert his authority, make an example. 20 students watched, phones already recording what seemed like a confrontation brewing. The man stood slowly, walked down the aisle toward the front. Dr. Pierce handed him the printed KISS analysis. Please, explain to these Berklee students how formal music theory is somehow unnecessary for sophisticated arrangement. The man took the paper, glanced at it, set it aside. Before I do, can I ask you something? What? Do you know who Prince is? Dr. Pierce looked confused. Of course. We just spent 15 minutes analyzing his work. Natural talent, limited theory, could have been far more sophisticated with proper training. Why? The man removed his baseball cap. Because I'm Prince, and I'm very interested to hear what proper training would have taught me that 40 years of playing didn't. The classroom exploded. Students gasped, jumped to their feet, phones immediately up recording. One girl actually screamed. Dr. Pierce's face went from condescending confidence to absolute shock in under 2 seconds. His mouth opened. No sound came out. He sat down heavily in the instructor's chair, all color draining from his face. Prince addressed the class directly. Here's what Berklee doesn't teach you about KISS. It's not theoretically deficient, it's theoretically ruthless. Every note that doesn't serve the groove gets eliminated. That's not lack of knowledge, that's discipline. He walked to the piano in the corner of the classroom. You want to hear what KISS sounds like with proper Berklee arrangement? He played the familiar synth line, then started adding complex chord voicings, counter melodies, harmonic layers, rich, sophisticated, textbook perfect arrangement. It sounded impressive, technical, lifeless. He stopped. That's what Dr. Pierce wanted. Full harmonic palette, sophisticated voicing, all the theory boxes checked. He played the original, stripped-down line, just the essential riff. This is what I made. Which one hits your soul? Silence. Then a student in the front row quietly said, the second one. Prince nodded. Because music isn't about filling space. It's about creating tension and release. The Berklee version has no tension because there's no space for tension to exist. It's just information. The original version makes you feel something because of what's not there. He looked at Dr. Pierce. You said I'm compensating for lack of training with natural talent. Let me show you something about training versus intention. For the next 20 minutes, Prince essentially taught the class. He demonstrated harmonic concepts he'd used across his catalog, explained how removing elements creates more emotional impact than adding them, showed how theoretical rules are starting points, not destinations. He played through sections of Purple Rain, When Doves Cry, Raspberry Beret, deconstructing arrangement choices. When Doves Cry has no bass line. Every music theory course teaches you that's impossible. Funk needs bass, R&B needs bass. But I removed it because the tension of that absence made the song unforgettable. That's not ignorance, that's knowledge applied with intention. Students ask questions. How do you decide what to remove? You feel it. You play the full version, then start subtracting until what remains is pure. But how do you know when to stop? When removing one more thing would weaken instead of strengthen. That's not theory. That's listening. A student raised his hand. So you're saying Berklee theory is wrong? Prince shook his head. No, I'm saying it's incomplete. Theory teaches you grammar. I'm teaching you poetry. You need grammar to communicate. But if all you have is grammar, you'll never write anything people remember. Dr. Pierce sat silent through the entire impromptu masterclass, watching his curriculum be simultaneously validated and dismantled. When Prince finished, students erupted in applause. Dr. Pierce stood slowly, approached Prince. Mr. Prince, I apologize. What I said about you needing proper training was incredibly arrogant and ignorant. You clearly understand music theory at a level I didn't recognize, because it doesn't fit the academic model I teach. Prince extended his hand. Don't apologize for teaching theory. Apologize for teaching it as religion. Theory is a tool. Berklee gives students an incredible toolbox, but you're telling them there's only one way to use those tools. That's where you're limiting them. Dr. Pierce nodded. How do I fix that? Teach them the rules. Then teach them that every rule I broke made my music more memorable than most music that follows every rule perfectly. Let them decide which path serves their art. Prince turned to the class. How many of you came to Berklee because you want to sound exactly like someone else? No hands. Then why are you learning to arrange exactly like someone else? Dr. Pierce teaches you the foundation. That's essential. But you build the house. Your house. Not the house the textbook says is correct. He picked up his baseball cap. Music theory is a map. It shows you where others have traveled. But the greatest music comes from going where the map ends. Berklee teaches you to read the map. I'm telling you to walk off the edge. As Prince left, students surrounded him with questions, requests for photos, profound thanks for the unexpected lesson. One student, tears in her eyes, said, "You just changed how I think about music." Prince smiled. Good. Now go change how someone else thinks about it. After he left, the class sat in silence. Finally, someone asked Dr. Pierce, "Is there really only one correct way to arrange music?" Dr. Pierce took a deep breath. No, Prince is right. I've been teaching rules as laws. They're not. They're options. I apologize for being so rigid. The story spread through Berklee within hours. The substitute who told Prince he lacked theory became instant legend. Dr. Pierce became known for the incident, but it also transformed his teaching. He started emphasizing exploration alongside education, creativity parallel to correctness. When students asked about arrangement rules, he'd say, "Here's what Berklee teaches. Here's what Prince does. Both are valid. Choose which serves your music." Michael Torres, the regular instructor whose illness had led to Dr. Pierce substituting that day, called Prince when he heard, "You visited one class I wasn't even teaching, and you still created chaos." Prince laughed. "I was just sitting there. Your substitute challenged me." He told Prince he needed formal training. That's the most beautiful sentence I've ever heard. When Prince died on April 21st, 2016, Dr. Pierce posted a tribute that went viral among music education communities. In 1999, I told Prince he could have been more sophisticated with proper training. He could have humiliated me. Instead, he taught my class better than I'd been teaching it for 20 years. He showed my students that soul matters more than structure, that intention beats convention, that breaking rules with purpose creates more impact than following rules perfectly. I learned more from Prince in 20 minutes than I learned earning my PhD. Rest in power to the master who never stopped being a student. Today, that classroom at Berklee has a small plaque. In this room, November 14th, 1999, Prince taught a masterclass on the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Music theory courses at Berklee now include a section called Intentional Rule Breaking, using Prince's catalog as primary source material. The lesson plan specifically references KISS as an example of theoretical precision through elimination, not theoretical deficiency through ignorance. What Dr. Pierce called skeletal is now taught as essential. What he called limited is now recognized as focused. So what about you? What rule are you afraid to break? What proper way is keeping you from finding your voice? Prince spent 40 years being told his approach was wrong, that he needed education, that his intuition wasn't enough. Then he wrote music history. Rules keep you safe, but legends are written by those brave enough to walk past the boundaries. Subscribe if this story reminded you that the greatest art comes from knowing the rules well enough to break them with intention. Share with someone who needs permission to trust their instinct over instruction. And comment below. When did breaking the rules teach you more than following them ever could? Next time someone tells you there's only one correct way, remember Berklee, November 1999. Remember Prince standing at that piano. Remember that sophistication isn't about how much you add. Sometimes it's about how much you're brave enough to remove. Theory teaches you to speak. Soul teaches you what to say. Prince understood both. The question is, do you?